Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, we have officially survived the Thanksgiving holiday. Interesting use of words, since this is the time when carriers usually do make some money, but as we have all learned already, this year is special. All right, 3 questions that I get asked constantly. Number 1, how is it possible that the trucking industry and the freight market is down when the economy is showing growth? Number 2, when is this all going to end? And number 3, how the heck can we survive this long enough to see the market turn? Let's chat about it. Ready? Let's go! So recently, FreightWaves held a live discussion, and that discussion opened with a simple question. How is it possible that the freight industry on the trucking side, carriers and brokers are shutting down, they're struggling, people are parking their trucks and so on, while the economy is reporting a 4.9% GDP growth? Aren't the US economy and the freight market pretty much correlated? I know that some of you are going to disagree with me because I have had some disagreements on this point with our group members, but while the freight market sort of simulates the general US economy, it is not always the case. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole topic of whether the 4.9% growth that was reported is misleading or whether it's truthful. I know we all have a lot of opinions on it, and this is a discussion for another time. But according to the State of Freight discussion, Craig Fuller and Zach Strickland noted, and I quote, that the softness in the freight industry is not primarily occurring on the demand side of the market, meaning the volumes, freight volumes. Volumes have been steadily growing all year, save for a disappointing October. We have actually seen this time and time again. Freight volumes are, of course, still below the 2020 and 2021 levels, but they are above the 2018, 19, and 22 levels at the moment. So regardless of what we all believe about the GDP growth that has been reported, we can see that volume-wise, we're actually doing fine. Now, freight volumes are usually a good reflection of the economic conditions, specifically consumer demand. This is definitely not to say that the economy is healthy right now. It's far from it. But we have seen that consumer spending has been quite resilient despite the inflation, the growing fuel prices, and so on. The one thing that we do have to remember, though, is that while consumer spending is still up there, it is not because they have more discretionary income. Not at all. It is simply because consumers are now building up debt on their credit cards. So what gives? How is it possible that if volumes are more or less fine, that this is the worst cycle in the freight industry or the trucking industry in a long time? And as some of you have already said, who have been in this industry since the 70s and 80s, you're saying this is the worst you have ever seen it. Well, first and foremost, if we compare today's freight volumes and the number of authorities to January of 2021, when there was a boom in the market, let me read you off the numbers. Volumes are 16% lower today than in January of 2021, while the trucking authorities are 26% higher today than in January 2021. Now, according to FreightWaves, and I quote, the problem was that supply, the amount of trucks, was still too slow in coming out of the market. This downturn, more small carriers and owner-operators were being propped up by freight brokers, if you can believe that, who have gained significant market share over the past decade. Unlike 10 years ago, freight brokers are competing for primary position on shippers' routing guides and have access to high-volume freight, controlling perhaps 25% of the truckload volumes in the country. They've been able to feed small carriers and independent owner-operators with high-quality, debatable, freight from the largest shippers, keeping them in the game longer. This is what Fuller theorized. All right, so to quickly translate this, basically brokers have made freight more accessible. And let's be frank here, working off the spot market does not require as much, if any, relationship building or knocking on doors in order to get freight like it would if you were going to a direct shipper. Now, I should know because I'm a spot market only carrier. So basically, with the growth of brokerages came accessible freight, more of it, and it became easier to find something, anything to haul, even if it means you're running just for cash flow. Now, of course, there's the other side, which is very important, and that's the cost per mile. And this will eventually lead more carriers to shut their doors, especially those that are not paying attention to how much it actually costs to run their truck and are booking loads that are way below their costs. But we're looking at the general picture here. And generally speaking, it is still possible to find loads that will just cover your fuel cost, your delayed maybe truck payments, and despite the fact that these carriers are actually running for loss, they have just enough money to continue operating right now and hoping that soon the market is going to turn and they're going to make up for all those losses. So what comes next? Well, it depends on who you ask. Craig Fuller, for example, believes that the contract rates will start dropping in 2024 while the spot market rates will start increasing, and that will squeeze the broker's margins. Now, the OOIDA, or OADA as some people call it, they are less optimistic, and according to their foundation report, they expect current trends to continue until at least 2024. Some of you guys are saying it's not going to be until 2025 that we see a market turn. Some are saying it's not going to be for another 5 years. But one thing that most agree on is that in the best case scenario, the market should start turning somewhere in Q2 of 2024. But again, this is the best case scenario. Now, I often get the question, what can we do right now to survive long enough to see the market finally turn so we can cover our losses? Guys, I wish I was an all-knowing gnome who could tell you exactly what you need to do in order to survive this challenging time, but I am not all-knowing, and unfortunately, I am not a gnome either. The two words that do come to mind right away is change and adaptability. At least that's what we have been trying to do. We have been drastically changing our baby company's operations, and one of the biggest changes that we have implemented is that we finally moved that company along with one of my business partners out of California, because doing any sort of business in this state, in the state of California, is pretty much impossible. We're also looking to stay fluid as possible in an unpredictable situation, which means that we do not buy our trailers anymore. We pretty much rent everything. We're actually even looking into the possibility of short-term leases or rentals for semi-trucks. So if you guys have any recommendation of companies that actually rent out or short-term lease their semi-trucks other than Coop, not a fan of them, let me know in the comments. The goal is to remain adaptable and fluid so that if the market turns for the worse, even worse than it is right now, we can quickly give away the trailer that same day, remove it from insurance, and we don't have that expense. It's definitely been an uphill battle on a slippery slope. So yeah, sadly, I don't have some magic answer for you guys on how to survive this other than being able to adapt quickly and paying attention to the ever-changing surroundings. Now, if you guys have any tips on surviving the current challenges and you feel like sharing it with the group, please feel free to leave a comment. We'll all be grateful. If not, no worries. Wishing you guys an amazing rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.